Hey, what's up, everyone? How's it going? Welcome to the Call-In Show. My name is Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. Thanks for waiting. I know a lot of people are like, the countdown. It's not, I'm not a big star. I just, the countdown is to get more people involved. So I appreciate you guys being here. Another big weekend of Alabama Crimson Tide football. And I think a great place to start out with is, let's face it. I mean, everybody's here because of the big news today. And the simple news is that Alabama landed Bryce Young, class of 2020 commitment out of California, is a top dual threat in the entire country, was committed to USC, flips to Alabama. No surprise, there had been chatter, and a lot of people were excited about him making his way to Tuscaloosa this weekend. It was kind of under wraps. I know Andrew Bone had the scoop on that. And, now Bryce Young joins the Alabama class of 2020. It's a big class, but I think getting that quarterback is very important. And we'll have, of course, more on BamaInsider.com. Hold your calls. I'll get to the calls as we proceed on the show. But big pickup quarterback-wise, and I was thinking about it. I mean, think about all the quarterbacks that are currently on the roster, right? So you have Tua Tagovailoa. There's plenty of quarterbacks. I mean, there's a couple guys on the roster, but let's look at the main quarterbacks that Alabama has brought on board. And you got to start out with Tua Tagovailoa. Definitely, the top quarterback in the entire country, probably going to be the number one draft pick in the NFL. I mean, think about it. And we'll dive into the stats a little bit more here in just a second. But then after him, you got Mac Jones. I mean, is Mac Jones capable of leading this team next year? How do you feel about that? Let me know in the comment box. And then you have Talia Tagovailoa. That's Tua's younger brother. I mean, he's looked good at times. I mean, we've seen small sample sizes from all of these guys. Another guy, Paul Tyson, there in waiting, the great grandson of Bear Bryant. Is he going to be, a guy that, can step up and be a guy that Alabama can rely on in the future? And, there's a couple guys after that, but Bryce Young being added to this class, I think is an important step. And I think it's a big land for offensive coordinator Steve Sarkisian. I think with his West Coast ties, it's no surprise that he was able to develop and build a relationship with Bryce Young. Bryce Young joins Alabama's class of 2020. So it's a big pickup for the Crimson Tide. You can read more about it on BamaInsider.com. Tonight on the show, I'll take your calls at 205-686-3604. Here in just a minute, I'll open up the line and get your calls, and we can talk about this past game between Alabama and Southern Miss. I mean, is another blowout. And I don't know if you guys saw, but this coming week, Alabama takes on Ole Miss. Alabama is already favored by 34 points. Alabama's just been blowing through the competition. Anyone check out that late game last night? Talk about Pac-12 after dark. You see UCLA and Washington State. It was like 67-63. It's like unbelievable. We'll look at some player grades. We'll look at the stats, and let's kick it off at the stats and kind of look at the stats and go over this game as an overview, and then we'll look at the cumulative stats, and then I'll take your calls at 205-686-3604. So looking at the stats from this last game, let me actually line that up, see if I can do a better job positioning those stats. We'll just actually, how about that? Tua Tagovailoa, as you know, was another incredible performance. 17 of 21, 293 yards, 5 touchdowns. Look at that. The rating is ridiculous, right? 276.7. Najee Harris got his first 100-yard rushing game of the season, 14 carries, 110 yards. Even Saban said that he was impressed with Najee. And a lot of people still not happy about Alabama's run game. However, I thought against Southern Miss, and it's hard to really gauge the running game because you're going against these lower tier teams when, you can't really gauge how good things are going other than just kind of based on what you see. I want to see them go against good competition. And when are we going to see that, right? It's going to be several weeks, if not a couple months. Brian Robinson, 8 carries, 39 yards, and then receiving wise, Jerry Jeudy had 6 receptions, 96 yards with 2 touchdowns. Henry Ruggs, 4 receptions, 148 yards. And I talked about that in my 10 takeaways. The last 2 games, Henry Ruggs has been absolutely on fire. All these receivers catch fire at times, but Henry Ruggs is certainly going to be another guy who steps up and is a first-round draft pick. You got to add him to your club next year. The electric speed, the playmaking ability, incredible average over the last 2 games is actually 27.0 yards per catch in the last 2 games. It's unbelievable. Total yards, Alabama had 514 yards compared to Southern Miss's 226. 338 of those yards came through the air, 176 on the ground. Only 1 penalty. Talking about cleaning up from the last game against South Carolina, where you had 11 penalties. So you very, very good football, good fundamental football, and Nick Saban certainly wanted to cut down on those penalties. 24 first downs. Alabama's actually averaging 25 first downs this season. Third downs, they were 6 for 10, 60%. Fourth down, 1 for 1. The red zone, they were 5 for 5. And I think the red zone scoring this year has been really important. I believe Alabama's 15 for 16 in the red zone, which is a 94% average. And that's something that Sarkisian was even criticized about with the Atlanta Falcons. So a lot of people wanted to see a much improved red zone attack. And I think you've seen that early on for Alabama. As we look at the quarterback stats, let's see if I can fix these for you right here. We see that Tua Tagovailoa, I mean, look at these numbers, right? 87, 112, 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns, and no interceptions, right? Incredible numbers. Passing rating of 225.3. Mac Jones, 14-20, 70% on the season, 1 touchdown and threw an interception against Southern Miss. That was actually Alabama's first interception of the season. Alabama's turned the football over just twice this year, 1 interception and 1 fumble. Very impressive numbers. Here are the rushing numbers. 45 attempts for Najee Harris, 266 yards with 1 touchdown, 7 receptions for 104 yards and 3 touchdowns. He showed that he's versatile, catching the football. I mean, everybody remembers that big play against South Carolina a couple weeks ago. And Brian Robinson doing his thing, 36 carries, 138 yards. What do you think about Brian Robinson so far? 3.8 average. What about Jerome Ford? Jerome Ford seems like he runs really tough. And then Killen Robinson with 11 carries for 97 yards. The receivers, I have them. Let me see where I have the receivers. I have the receivers somewhere. I'll get those to you in a second. But here are the defensive stats. Xavier McKinney has 28 total tackles, which leads the team. Shane Lee has 24. That's big time for a true freshman playing at the inside linebacker position. Anthony Jennings has 20 total tackles with 3 sacks, which actually leads the team. Raekwon Davis had 17 tackles. Have you been impressed with Raekwon Davis this season? Let me know in the comment box. Christian Harris, another freshman that's starting, 17 tackles. Patrick Surtain, 16 tackles with 1 interception and 2 pass deflections. And Jared Maiden had 8 tackles yesterday, now up to 16 total tackles. Josh Jobe, who's a sophomore, 14 tackles on the season. And then Trayvon Diggs, who has 2 interceptions, has 12 tackles on the season. Here's how things look from an SEC standpoint. You see Joe Burrow has thrown for a grip of yards. I mean, look at that, 1,500 yards on the season with 17 passing touchdowns, 80% completion percentage. Tua right behind him, 1,300 yards with 17 touchdowns. Those quarterbacks complete balling out. Kellen Mond, struggled against Auburn, has 1,000 yards on the season with just 7 touchdowns. Kelly Bryant, the Clemson transfer, has 1,000 yards as well with 8 touchdowns. Nick Starkel, Matt Corral, Jake Fromm. I thought Jake Fromm did a good job. I thought he did what he was supposed to do against Notre Dame, and he threw into some tight windows, and they really took advantage of those one-on-one matchups. So I think he's a very underrated quarterback. Here are how things look from a running perspective in the SEC. You don't see anyone from Alabama until way at the bottom, right? Number 12, not really accustomed to seeing that. 45 carries for over 200 yards for Najee Harris, but his average per run is pretty good, 5.9. They're the receivers. Here we go. So when we look at the total yardage from these guys, I think I can scoot this down just a little bit. 30 receptions for Jerry Jeudy, 404 yards, 6 receiving touchdowns, and then at number 6, you got Henry Ruggs, who we just talked about a minute ago, 16 receptions, 350 yards with 4 touchdowns, and then I think Devontae Smith's down there as well. They're at the bottom. 200 receptions, 263 yards, and 3 receiving touchdowns. So those are the stats. I just wanted to go over the stats and kind of highlight those stats. And, I'm a stat guy. I know you are too. I know you like to look at the stats. So I'm going to actually open up the call-in line. I'll take your calls, and then we can look at some player grades, and we can talk about where things stand for Alabama, and we can talk some of my takeaways that I had. So the call-in line is open now. 205-686-3604. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I don't really, I tweet sometimes. Most of my stuff's always on BamaInsider.com. But my Twitter handle is rivals_Kyle. If you want to give me a follow, I'd appreciate that. I'm always, I do tweet out content. Talked a lot about Tua Tagovailoa today on my 10 takeaways. And by the way, the call-in line is open, so I'll just wait for your call, 205-686-3604. I talked a lot about Tua Tagovailoa in my 10 takeaways, and just the fact that what he's doing at Alabama is really monumental. He's accumulated close to 6,000 yards, if you can believe that, in just 28 games to rank 5th all-time at Alabama. Really incredible performance by Tua this season. Hey, what's up, Rob? How you doing, man? Rob from Colorado, you're on the line, man. What's up, buddy?
Kyle, how's your day going, buddy?
Oh, man, I had a strong Sunday. I was all college football yesterday. Watched a little bit of NFL. But I was really wanted to dive into that Georgia Notre Dame game. I wanted to see how good Georgia was, and I felt they were pretty good against Notre Dame, who surprised me. What about you? How's your Sunday going?
It's doing good. We just did some grocery shopping. It seems like groceries just get more expensive every other month.
It's unbelievable.
But,
try having we have Publix out here. Oh my goodness! Come on, help us out. So what's on your so what do you think, man? Let's break it down. Alabama now 4-0 on the season. But they really haven't been challenged at all.
Well, first of all, I like to say God bless you and your family.
No, I appreciate it.
You sound healthy.
Yeah,
you sound healthy. You're in your right mind, your right spirit. So,
yeah, thank you.
Let's be thankful for that.
Absolutely.
As far as I wanted to run something by you. How do you feel about Christian Harris coming off the edge? Kind of like remember Rashad Evans coming off the edge?
Yeah.
You couldn't stop him off the edge. He was too fast.
Yeah, he had a good motor, and I think that's a good comparison. I think when you look at a player like Christian Harris, I think he does provide some versatility because of the fact that he is so athletic. Remember, he's a guy that played corner and wide receiver in high school. He's a big dude, 6'2", 244 pounds. I think right now, though, I think the game plan for Christian Harris is really to let him figure out this inside linebacker position, figure out what his responsibilities are, and let him grow from there. I think he has a tremendous upside, same with Shane Lee, but I think with Shane Lee, he's not going anywhere other than the inside linebacker position, right? He's just a thumper.
Shane Lee.
Shane Lee's not going anywhere. But I think with Christian Harris, he has the versatility to maybe pop outside if they need him to down the road, depending on what the inside linebacker position looks like going forward. But I think for the plan right now is just to develop him and get him these first couple of games and really just get his feet wet, which I think the schedule has allowed him to.
Yeah, I would love to see Cajo and Lee in the middle. I think that's a great, if you give him time to play with the ones, I think he'll get acclimated. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it'll be a benefit to our defense. I don't know about Jared Maiden, man. I'm telling you, all you need is 1 weak link in that secondary, and it's Clemson all over again. Savion Smith killed us.
Yeah, and I think
Maiden.
I think I know what you're talking about. Jared Maiden, I know he had 8 tackles. I mentioned him during the stats. But did he seem slow to you guys? Seemed like he was a little bit slow.
He's slow and tentative.
Yeah.
He's not – what was that one dude from last year? Dang it. He was a taller, 6'2", skinnier guy, but he was a thumper. Thompson.
Thompson. Deontay Thompson last year, and then you
He's
had
no
Savion
Thompson.
Smith. No.
He's no Thompson. He's no McKinney. He's no Fitzpatrick. You know how guys are so good that they compare to prior greats like Ragland, Foster,
sure.
So on and so forth. I can't compare Maiden to anybody because the guy with his comparison wasn't even starting. He was like a third. I don't know how bad Daniel Wright is, but we got to find somebody in Battle. Wow, I like Battle.
Yeah, and I think
Battle.
I was just going to mention Battle. I think with Jordan Battle, he's another freshman. And get this, if you're keeping tabs, Alabama had started on Saturday against Southern Miss 7 true freshmen, and overall 18 freshmen have played this season. But I think with Jordan Battle, what I like about Jordan Battle is the fact that he plays very opportunistic. Right, he's always seems to be at the right place at the right time. I think he even came up with the fumble. So. And he seems like he could be some guy guy that be like Deontay Thompson to where he can come up and hit somebody. So maybe that
I like
safety,
that.
maybe that safety is there. Maybe he's just a young gun in Jordan Battle.
Yeah, him and I feel, because I'm just trying to look at weak links, because I mean, I just don't want what happened last year to have happen again. Learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
Owens on the O line. Maybe we could ride with him. Maybe he'll prove himself against A&M and Ole Miss, and then we'll roll with him. But I think that backup needs to get ready, because he's going to get Tua hurt. He's going to get Tua hurt. We only need 1 week guy in that O-line, and you don't need no 330-pound guy hitting Tua and landing on his leg and putting all his weight on his leg like they were doing last year. They were thrashing Tua last year.
Yeah, I know. It's going to be interesting to see what develops with this offensive line going forward. And I think Alabama's going to get Deontay Brown back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that group of 5 under Kyle Flood, who's the offensive line coach going forward. I think Deontay Brown could add a lot of ability in terms of the run game, because he's just such a big body. He's 6'4", 342 pounds. And I'm curious to see if he is going to leapfrog Evan Neal at that left guard position. In terms of the center position, I don't know. Chris Owens has been there. Is he going to continue to improve? Is he going to be average? Like you said, are we just going to have to ride with him? Is Alabama just going to have to ride with him? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you're right. Neal, I bench Neal, reserve him, lose some weight, gain some muscle, gain some mobility. Leatherwood and Wills are gone, barring injury. God forbid, they're gone next year. Mm-hmm. Put Neal on the end, on the tackle, with somebody else on the other tackle. But yeah, let's get what's his name? Cornbread. I think his nickname is Cornbread.
Yeah. They have that. That's what they call him, Cornbread. I mean, let's
get Cornbread back.
They come up with who coined that? That was props to them, right? They were like, "You're Cornbread." Love the nickname, and the guy coming back off the suspension should be a positive addition for the offensive line. Anything else, Rob, while you're on the show?
Oh man, I forgot. This is what I wanted to tell you, man. I can't forget. I mean, I can't remember who it was before you, because it seems like you've always been here. But I know you haven't always been here, but because you came from New Mexico and you came from Colorado, where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure I speak for everyone here, man. We really appreciate you, your show. You give people a chance to call in and interact, and you're always doing these lives and the watch along during the games. I like those.
Yeah,
I like those. So we really appreciate you, is what I basically wanted to say.
Hey, thank you so much, Rob. And before I let you go, I just want to say that means a lot to me, because I think, when we're out here and we're doing the shows, the feedback that we get is, obviously it helps, because it helps us content strategize. Do people like this? Are people, vibing with this sort of content? Is this the content that they want to see? Do they want something else? And when you're giving us positive feedback that you like the show, that you like what you're seeing, I think it's all positive. So those watch-alongs, we're working on it, and we hope to add on more content. But I appreciate you calling in, Rob. You're always a great caller to talk to. I hope you have a blessed rest of your Sunday, and thank you as always for calling in.
Yeah, I'm gonna go home, drink this beer. My wife's making crab dip. Got some scallops and shrimp in there, man, because I love me some seafood. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, good stuff, Rob.
All right.
Take it easy, buddy.
All right.
That was Rob from Colorado. Great caller. We actually have, here's a voicemail that we just got from Debbie out in North Carolina. Here we go. Let's see if I can play this on the fly.
Yeah, Doobie White out of North Carolina. Just wondering what you think about our defense. We don't have no solidified pass rusher.
All right, we'll get to that in just a second. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Thanks for calling in. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from? Hello? All right, call back again. 205-686-3604. What does everybody think about the pass rush? I mean, I think what I've seen from the pass rush so far is Anthony Jennings coming off the edge looks fantastic. Now, my question mark is, what is going on with Terrell Lewis, right? I mean, it looks like he has Another injury doesn't look as significant as the last 2 seasons, but he continues to be injury plagued. And it's frustrating, I think, for Alabama Crimson Tide fans. I want to know what you think about the pass rush. All right. Good evening. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with and where are you calling from?
Hey, Kyle. This is Tim Grant calling from North Carolina.
Hey, thank you very much for calling. How is your Sunday going?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
All right. Thanks for calling. So what's on your mind?
As far as Alabama defense, I think they played a little bit better this weekend. Mm-hmm. However, just like the previous caller stated, I'm concerned about Jared Maiden. Mm-hmm. Stand on a lot of plays, but it seemed like he was coming up. He wasn't wrapping up on his hits. Mm-hmm. He was making contact, but he wasn't wrapping up. So mm-hmm. the contact he made, the player, he didn't make the play. You know, he had to get an assist mm-hmm. to complete the tackle mm-hmm. on a lot of them. I seen Christian mm-hmm. Harris. He played better this weekend. Seen one play where he came up, you know, and actually filled the alley and made a good hit on the running back. So that was encouraging to see him actually improve this weekend.
Yeah. I think, sorry to interrupt, but I think you're right. I think you hit on a really good point. I think there are concerns with Maiden, and I think there are positives with Christian Harris, because I think during South Carolina, I think he struggled. I think that was a tough environment for some of these younger guys to play in. And Saban got Ali Kaho some reps, but he said that they didn't switch. They didn't make a major switch. They just wanted to get Kaho some reps as well. Went back with Christian Harris against Southern Miss, who had some tremendous athletes. I don't know if you guys know, but Southern Miss had some of the fastest guys Alabama's going to see all year. And I thought Christian Harris did a great job coming up, filling up holes. Him and Shane Lee believe they accounted for 11 total tackles against a very underrated Southern Miss offense.
Right. One thing I'm kind of concerned about, though, looking ahead, particularly to Texas A&M mm-hmm. with Kellen Mond. Mm-hmm. He can run the ball.
Yes.
So when it comes to him pulling the ball down and taking off, we can't have that hesitation with the running back, and that's where I think Kyle, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but
Kaho.
I think
you got it.
Kaho.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be better suited for a more athletic quarterback. So I think he can play a good important role in games like that when, you have to spy quarterbacks and stuff like that.
I think you're absolutely right. I think one of the concerns is when we fast forward to that Texas A&M game is the fact that Kellen Mond did eat up Alabama last year. I mean, he had over 100 yards almost rushing before halftime. And we've seen in the past, while Anthony Jennings can get heat on the quarterback who's in the pocket, he does struggle when a quarterback gets outside those lanes because he's not as fast as some of those running backs. I mean, you're talking about Anthony Jennings, who's 265 pounds. Now, you bring up another great point with Ali Kaho being able to track those quarterbacks down that can run. And he does have more athleticism than Christian Harris. Christian Harris at 245 pounds, Ali Cahill probably at 230 pounds with some really great feet. So it'll be interesting to see if Kaho gets some playing time. But Nick Saban seems to have a lot of faith in Christian Harris, and we saw a lot of positives from last week, as you said.
Right. Yeah, that's true. As far as the offense, man, I think their play speaks for itself, man. They're a hard group to stop. Najee Harris did seem like he ran the ball, and something else I noticed a couple of plays, and I noticed that the week before, those holes, a couple times those holes were so big, and it's like he wasn't expecting it to be there, and he hesitated, and then he took off and hit the hole. So, the offensive line seems like they're gelling a little bit more, but like you said too, they haven't been challenged. So I guess we kind of have to wait and see. But it's always encouraging to see them, do good against lower level competition. So.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, like I said earlier, it is what it is. I mean, they haven't been challenged. I don't think even South Carolina was a real test. I think playing on the road is difficult in an SEC type environment. But, I mean, going up against Ryan Helinski, who's a freshman, that's not challenging. What's challenging will be taking on Texas A&M against I wouldn't say he's a premier quarterback, but I think a challenging quarterback. And I think playing at Kyle Field in front of 100,000 at College Station should be very difficult. But I mean, I watched that game. I watched them play Auburn yesterday, and I thought Auburn did a good job neutralizing Kellen Mond's ability to run, and they made him look average. And I think Auburn is very good. I think they've been playing very well, but then again, they have a freshman quarterback.
Right.
And I talked about this on my 10 takeaways today on BamaInsider.com. I asked which teams can really challenge Alabama, and kind of piecing together everything, I actually came down to Auburn. Auburn is a team that has had success. Malzahn, I mean, I know a lot of people, not even the fans at Auburn like him, but he's beaten Saban 2 out of 5 tries. They have a very good defensive line. And if you look back at the teams that have beat Alabama, which is just really Clemson and Auburn over the last couple seasons, both of those teams have had a superior defensive line, right? You add to the fact that Alabama is playing in Jordan-Hare Stadium. I mean, it's going to be a very difficult environment against Texas A&M, but that game against Auburn, I know a lot of people are talking about the game against LSU, and rightfully so, but Auburn is going to be very challenging as well. Anything else while you're on the show?
Yeah. One last thing. It seems like for the most part, whenever our defense has had problems with quarterbacks throwing the ball, it's because we couldn't get any pressure on them, right? So this year, have you noticed it seems like we really, we got our edge rushers that Harris, not Harris, but the two I can't even say their names right now. But we got some promising players or set players on the outside. But in the middle, I think we need to get more pass rush, up the middle to collapse the pocket against, quarterbacks to make them uncomfortable and push them, to get off of their mark so they're not sitting back there.
Yeah, you don't really see that in Pete Golding's scheme, right? You don't see like a full house blitz like with the inside linebackers right up the middle. You see more of the edge coming out, chasing the quarterbacks. I think that's interesting to look at, and then we'll probably have to dive into more film on that. I think the plan is to have Terrell Lewis and Anthony Jennings come in outside of those guys and putting pressure on, and then funneling everything up the middle, and then having Raekwon Davis and LeBron Ray. But now LeBron Ray's out. It's like these guys keep on dropping. LeBron Ray out, Terrell Lewis out. We don't even know what happened to Markel Benton. We're going to have to find an update this week. So a lot of guys dropping out, and it's all on the defensive side. So depth continues. Depth is going to play a big issue, and the freshmen are going to have to grow up really quick. I think the schedule has allowed the freshmen to grow up really quick, but like Nick Saban said, there's no substitute for experience. These guys couldn't they might be feeling a good rhythm, but I tell you what, playing against Texas A&M, it's a completely level. It's a completely different level. Playing against LSU and Joe Burrow, who's an experienced quarterback, that's going to be very difficult. So. These guys have to grow up, but as Nick Saban said, there's no substitute for experience. I appreciate you calling in. Please call again next time.
All right, no problem.
Yeah,
thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you. 205-686-3604 is the call-in number. I appreciate all the comments in the comment box. If anyone wants to be a moderator on the comment box, please message me. You can also email me at kyle@bamainsider.com. Would appreciate having a moderator on the chat. That would really help. And, you can reach out to me. You can also follow me, like I said, on Twitter, rivals_Kyle, everything else at BamaInsider.com. Earlier today, Alabama landed 2020 quarterback commitment, as you saw, and that's Bryce Young. Big pickup for the Crimson Tide. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Neil from Hoover, Alabama.
How you doing, Neil? How's your Sunday?
Doing great, man. As far as the defense goes, I thought the young players took a stride, and I think they're going to be okay. I thought Chris Allen on the outside from what your previous caller said. He looked like he was coming into his own finally. So, and what's the lineman? I'm going to butcher his name. Is it Ogilvy?
Justin Abogbe.
Yeah, I thought he played well. And then once they put Barmore in, I think he had bad intentions when he got in there, and he looked really good. So
yeah,
I think we're going to be all right. The injuries may finally catch up with us in the end, but I'm encouraged and roll tide.
Yeah, I think that you're right. I think you hit on two important points. Let's start with number one, Chris Allen. I think we haven't talked enough about him, and I think with Terrell Lewis subbing out and Chris Allen subbing in, I think Alabama's still in a good position. I think Chris Allen is a guy who has a lot of athleticism. He has good experience. Heck, he's even played inside linebacker before. So you're talking about a very versatile guy that can get outside and get pressure on the quarterback. You mentioned Justin Abogbe, who's a true freshman. Starting for injured LeBron Ray. I think Justin Abogbe is someone who you should be really, really excited about. Thought he did a great job starting for the first time for the Crimson Tide. So there's a lot of positives, and I think these guys are going to only get more experience. But like you said, the injury bug could catch up with these guys. And then your last note hitting on Christian Barmore. The thing with him is last year, we saw a lot of immaturity. And then during fall camp, it seems like he was just frustrated because he wanted to get on the field. And then finally he got on the field against South Carolina. And then this last week, I think we're really starting to see someone special, which is great news because he's a big boy out of Pennsylvania, I believe, 600, 6'4", 340 pounds, something like that. He's a bad dude. And Raekwon Davis is soon to exit out. So you want those big bodies to step up. So I'm glad you mentioned Barmore. Anything else while you're on the show?
I guess that's it. But I think we'll be okay. And from what Texas A&M they just really didn't impress me that much. I kept telling Mon to run, and he never would in the game. I guess they wanted him to, try to stay in there and throw, but he had some lanes where he could run. So hopefully they'll have the same game plan for us.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Well, thanks for calling in. Please call again next time. I really appreciate you calling in this evening.
All right, pal. Thanks.
All right, take it easy, buddy. All right, 205-686-3604 is the call-in number. Seems like a lot of questions and comments are geared towards the defense, and I get it, and rightfully so. I mean, what's there really to talk about the offense? I mean, the offense has just been really electric. Here's that from my takeaways. I was talking about Henry Ruggs, and feel free to call in. Henry Ruggs, which Alabama receiver is not on fire? You might have heard this in my podcast, too, that I released today. Maybe that's a better question, is which receiver's not on fire? And the last two games, Henry Ruggs has dazzled with his 4.2 speed, amazing 40 time, but he's racked up some serious yardage. Over the last two games this season, Ruggs has caught for 10 receptions, 270 yards with 3 touchdowns. His per-catch average is 27.0, with touchdowns of 81 and 74 yards out. Add to this, against New Mexico State, my alma mater, if you can believe that, he racked up 141 yards, 2 additional touchdowns, and that pass that he caught behind the line of scrimmage, 75 yards. So completely balling out. And I showed the stats earlier. We talked about Najee Harris already. Call line is open, 205-686-3604. We have a good article today right now written by Tony Tsoukalas. Statistically speaking, it kind of breaks down everything from a statistical standpoint. Alabama's offense through 4 games, averaging 50 points per game. I mentioned that they have 25.5 first downs per game, 550 yards per game, 371 of those yards through the air. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with and where are you calling from?
Robert from Mobile.
Hey, Robert. It's always great to hear from you. How's your Sunday going?
Oh, just fine.
Oh, great to hear from you.
I'm like everyone else in the defense. It looked better this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Still not, flying around. I guess it could be the competition with we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not flying around you watched the Georgia game yesterday against Notre Dame. And of course, Notre Dame, but it seemed like they were more the Georgia defense was more just flying around and, after getting up to the quarterback and getting up to the ball. That's guess what we want to see with Alabama's defense, which we just so far haven't seen it yet. It looked better in this game, but it's just still not quite where we want it to be as far as. But again, we probably the first playing on defense yesterday.
Yeah, I think with
how many freshmen played on defense yesterday? Four or five.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, there's 7 freshmen that started. Most of those guys on the defense, you have the kicker, Will Reichert, who's also a freshman. So, but most of those freshmen are on the offensive side or the defensive side of the ball. Justin Ebogbe, DJ Dell, Shane Lee, Christian Harris, and then Jordan Battle, who also started for his second time. So that's 5, right? 5 guys that are starting as freshmen.
Yeah, I guess maybe this week, they play Ole Miss, which it's hard to get. It's an SEC team. It's hard to get excited for Ole Miss, and if they do their job, and it should be this should be another score similar to this weekend with Ole Miss as bad as they are, and I watched the A&M game as well. And I was like the other previous caller, they saw so many opportunities for Kellen Mond to run, and he simply didn't do it. And I said, hell yeah, if you come out there and when Alabama goes to Kyle Field and you run for 200 yards there, I'm coming in and breaking your legs.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't run against something and you wouldn't run against Auburn, but you want to run against Alabama. It wouldn't surprise me. That's when he was like, okay, yeah, I guess I'll run against Alabama and give us headaches with his legs. He wouldn't do it to Clemson or Auburn. What do you think about LSU? Burrows has, of course, improved, but he's starting to get a little bit scary now as far as his ability to make throws that he wouldn't make last year. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I think LSU is certainly a threat. I think with their passing attack, it's looked very impressive, and I think LSU has always been impressive. I mean, they have the defense, they have the similar style of athletes as Alabama. Joe Burrow has completely improved from last season, and Orgeron, he always has Alabama as one of those teams that he wants to knock off, especially Nick Saban. I mean, that would completely be LSU's Super Bowl. But, I mean, you rewind to last year. I mean, there was a lot of hype around last year's game and the game before that and so forth. And I was there, went down to Baton Rouge. The crowd was crazy. That was the year that they're going to beat Alabama, and Alabama just completely manhandled them. And so, I mean, we've seen it before. They look like a contender, but, I mean, coming to Bryant-Denny, I think they're gonna have their hands full with Alabama's offense. I would imagine that it could be some sort of a track meet type game. Imagine with the yards and the points that they allowed to Vanderbilt yesterday. But until, LSU can really bring it, and they haven't beat Alabama since 2011, I mean, it's really hard to take a lot of these teams serious because, they just can't keep up, and especially on the offensive side. I mean, what Alabama's doing under Tua, it's almost unstoppable.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And it's, again, the running was better. Especially now that you finally got the 100 yards that we were hoping we would get a lot sooner. Unfortunately, we still hadn't seen a real breakout long one yet from either running back. But at least we got over 100 with a steady running diet. And the thing with the defense, though, is that they're still allowing third down conversions and extended drives. People on the playing offense is scoring too fast.
Yeah.
But you look at a lot of those plays, it's, hey, if you guys make your tackles and get off the field,
yeah.
You're on the field because you're missing tackles. You're not on the field because their offense is going 3 and out.
Yeah.
So that's up to the defense to get off the field themselves. And regardless of how quick the offense scores, they score quickly, but I'm seeing the defense on the field because you missed the play, you missed the tackle.
Yeah.
Or that could have stopped the drive, or you got a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the defense fault there. Again, we won 49-7. The defense definitely played better this game, and hopefully we'll see more improvement in the Ole Miss game as well. And what about the Georgia? How they look? Their offense looking a little slower. And Notre Dame, wow, they really brought it. I got to give them credit. They really brought it. was expecting them to get slaughtered, and he did not.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I thought, when you looked at that game, the line kept jumping up. It was like it started at 13, then it went to 16. I think it might even went to 17. And Notre Dame came out, and those two teams, were similar up until the later part of the game. I thought Georgia playing in front of an electric crowd. I mean, I can't wait till Bryant Denny gets that sort of energy, because the energy has been lacking these first couple games. I mean, it was dead at kickoff, and I get it. I mean, it's 11, it's 3 against New Mexico State and against Southern Miss, but that atmosphere must have been incredible at Sanford Stadium. I thought Jake Fromm, like I said earlier in the show, I think he's an underrated quarterback. I think he's very serviceable, probably better than that. I thought they did a good job taking advantage of those one-to-one matchups on the outside. They have some very talented wide receivers who I think could give anyone fits in college football. I think Kirby Smart, he does a great job, and he's had Nick Saban on the ropes a couple times, and Nick Saban has bounced off those ropes with the backup quarterback in each of those games, which is really crazy to think about. But Georgia is another team that has to be looming. I feel they're certainly a bad moon rising. I think they could be a team that not only beats Alabama but wins the entire thing this year. I think they're that good. Playing at home, I would have expected them to put it on Notre Dame a little bit more. But I think they're very capable of, of doing great things this year.
I think Notre Dame's schedule would, if they play a championship game of some sort, they could probably sneak back back into the playoff.
Mm-hmm.
With one loss with no championship, it's going to be really tough. But they, again, in a hostile environment,
yeah,
they had a great showing in that one loss. So it's unfortunate for them they won't have a championship game that could put them back in, because they probably could get back in it again with a championship game or kind of a marquee win. Well, real quick before I go, it's obvious that Nick Saban is going to want his offense to run like New England's offense with Tom Brady. And again, Tua is definitely a Tom Brady level quarterback on the college level. For the college level, Tua is a Tom Brady level quarterback. So this can work, and we can actually win a championship with it. It's not what we're used to, but Tua is just that good, and the defense just can, get us key stops when we need them, and then we can still go all the way with it. Still not overly impressed with Clemson's offense right now.
Yeah, me
so
neither.
It'll change, but right now it's lacking a bit. Okay, buddy.
All right, thank you so much, Robert. Appreciate you calling in. All right, that was Robert from Mobile. Please call in 205-686-3604. Yeah, I mean, Clemson had, one of those games last night. I think they beat up on Charlotte. They killed them. Trevor Lawrence was like 9 of 11. Threw for, 2 touchdowns or something like that. But, yeah, Clemson's offense, I mean, it just really hasn't impressed me. But, they have the guys. They're still going to be there. I mean, look at their schedule, the rest of the way. I think they're going to be there. I think Oklahoma is a team that you got to think could certainly give Alabama fits if those two were to meet up, just because the fact that Jalen Hurts is very difficult to stop. I can't even imagine the storylines if it was Jalen Hurts versus Tua Tagovailoa. Can you imagine that? We'd have to have a show every single day regarding that. All right, here we go. All right, hello, it's Kyle Henderson. You're on the line. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Austin from Tampa, Florida.
Hey, what's up, Austin? How was your day today?
Pretty good. How about you, man?
It was good, man. Thanks for asking. What's on your mind, man?
Yeah, so I heard you talking earlier about the defense, and obviously, you got a lot of defense questions because, it's understandable with Alabama's defense right now with all the injuries. But I know you're talking about the outside blitzes and things like that, how that's kind of, more of the scheme that we're revolving around this year, and having, the DBs take on those one-on-one matchups and man coverage and things like that. But when you have to take guys like big guys, slower guys like Shane Lee that can't really blitz up the middle, as well as some of the other guys that we had that, aren't freshmen. And, you have these guys like Shane Lee having to play man coverage. When we play somebody like LSU, are you going to see that as a problem for us, just having those freshmen, those slower guys try to cover guys in man coverage?
I don't know. That's a very good question. There was a play. I don't know if you guys remember it, but it was against Southern Miss yesterday when Southern Miss took a shot on Shane Lee. It was a one-on-one coverage situation, and Shane Lee, he's athletic as you can get at 250 pounds, and he was chasing. It was a running back that he was chasing, and it didn't look too good, to be honest. And I think if the ball would have been there, if it would have been a better athlete on the other side, it might have been a touchdown. So I think that is a cause for concern if you can get these guys into space. Yeah, and that's definitely a good question. Christian Harris, I'd be curious to see what he can do just because he has that defensive back mentality from the high school level. But no, very good question to pose.
Yeah, I mean, I think from just watching some LSU games, I think most of what we've seen from them hasn't been, things over the middle, drag routes and things like that. They like to take, deep shots, obviously, when you have a guy like Joe Burrow back there. So I'm not wondering if that's too much of a threat, but I definitely think it is something to look at, as a scheme. But I feel like if they try to, run some things underneath, I feel like, Saban probably understands that may be a threat. I feel like he has something up his sleeve to kind of, take that away if that starts to be a problem.
Yeah, one thing that I do like about this defense, I do like when they have Diggs and they have Surtain at the corner positions. I feel that that's Alabama's best secondary when those two are at the corner positions, and then when you have Xavier McKinney at the nickel position or floating at the safety position, I think it just gives Alabama, a lot of safety because Diggs is a very big physical corner. Surtain is the same thing. And I think with those guys, I mean, could you imagine if last night, let's look at Georgia versus Alabama, right? Let's just pretend that was the matchup. I think those receivers versus Alabama's corners, that would be a great matchup. And I think Alabama they might not win every one, but I think they would do a lot better than Notre Dame did last night. I just feel comfortable with those guys at the corner position. And maybe it'll be Josh Jobe moving forward if he can come back, but I know he struggled early on. I just don't know if how he would fare against better competition moving forward.
Well, I definitely agree with you there. I think the biggest thing about this team in general that I've seen differently is just I feel way more comfortable with our secondary this year, and just in any situation. I feel like in the last two championships where we've kind of been challenged has been way downfield with speed and those one-on-one matchups things like that. But with Xavier McKinney, like you said, in that nickel position, just kind of floating up there, I feel a lot safer. Taking big shots away from guys like Jake Fromm, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, and things like that. It's a lot more, secure having those guys back there. So definitely a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. What do you think about all these freshmen starting? I mean, it's positive from a long-term perspective, right? Because you're like, oh, these guys are going to have, 3 years of experience. But right now, I mean, as we get out of this early front end schedule and start to move into the more difficult parts of the season, does it concern you that Alabama has 5 guys starting on the defensive side of the ball that are freshmen?
Initially, what it seems like when you see it is that you have guys right now that are playing these lower level FBS teams that, they're freshmen, so they're able to take on these guys, no matter what age they are, just because of, the skill that we're playing against. But it then looks to see that as you get on later in the season, when you play, guys like Texas A&M and LSU, it looks like you may be facing, a little bit of a problem with freshmen trying to cover those guys up the middle, trying to put pressure on the quarterback and things like that. But now from watching guys like Shane Lee, Christian Harris, and just our D-line, in general, I know we have played lower level, skilled teams, but I do feel like we can give all of those offenses a challenge still. I feel like I said earlier, with the secondary now being a little bit more secure, a little bit more comfortable than past years, I think we can kind of take the pressure off that aspect and kind of force more people to kind of go through the middle and things like that. And I feel like the freshmen are big enough and athletic enough to handle that. But you were talking about that one play with the running back and Shane Lee, just not really being able to chase them down. So I think it really all comes into that only. Can those linebackers chase those guys down? So that's the biggest thing that I'm looking for this year, the biggest threat that I see. So.
You follow recruiting at all?
I don't follow a lot of recruiting. I did see the Bryce Jones thing, I think is his name. Bryce Young.
Bryce Young.
Oh, Bryce Young. Okay,
I just wanted to bring up again that Bryce Young has committed to Alabama. I know there's a lot of people jumping in and jumping out. Just want to make sure that people see that. So it was a big pickup for Alabama, and as you know, Tua on that. We're not even talking about the offensive side because there's really nothing to almost critique, right? I mean, everything seems to be going so smooth, and plus Alabama gets Deontay Brown back for Week 5 against Ole Miss, so we're kind of keeping tabs to see if he does rep with the first team going in against the Rebels. And by the way, Alabama now a 34-point favorite. Anything else while you're on the show, buddy?
No, I think that's about it, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Please call in again. Thank you. Very good call. All right. Wanted to show you actually before we take our next call. Just hold on the calls real quick. Actually go through the grades. There's Bryce Young again. Here's Tua Tagovailoa, graded out 79 flat. Talia Tagovailoa, not one play that he was in, 77. Mac Jones down there at 30.7. Wow. And the grades are, former coaches, former guys that have played in the league, and they rate these quarterbacks based on every single throw. So don't, they're harsh with the grading. Just don't let, the big yardage fool you. There's a couple times where these quarterbacks don't make the best throws. Even that touchdown throw that Tua had to Ruggs. Ruggs had to turn around and almost run back to that ball. That ball, for example, should have been thrown more on a fly. But overall, those are the grades for the quarterbacks. I'll get to the calls in just a minute. Let me run through these grades real quick. Najee Harris, 73.7. I thought that was fair, over 100 yards. He thought he ran hard. Brian Robinson there at the bottom, 59.5. Really haven't seen Brian Robinson just kind of bust out, get into open space this season. Henry Ruggs, the star indicates that the player started. Henry Ruggs on the far right, 85.1. Devontae Smith, I think he dropped a pass in the end zone, although it was a tough catch to make. Jerry Jeudy, 76.1. Jalen Waddle, 76 flat. Here are how a lot of the offensive linemen graded out. And the star, again, indicates if the player starts. And you can go back and pause this if you guys want to go more in depth in this, but I just kind of wanted to run through it real quick. Alex Leatherwood continues to have a strong season, graded out 84.5. Left guard was Evan Neal. Evan Neal continues to improve. If you looked at his grade against Duke compared to the game against Southern Miss, you really see a lot of improvement from him. Chris Owens had a more of a positive game against the Golden Eagles, and then Landon Dickerson, I think that's his best grade of the entire season, and then Jedrick Wills. So you saw the offensive line. Those are their best grades the entire year. Miller Forrestall, 64.3. Jerry Jeudy, we already talked about the wide receivers. On the defensive side of the ball, the grades read out. Raekwon Davis, 86.7. Still looking for that first sack of the year, but Raekwon Davis still doing his job. DJ Dell, 62.5 is his grade out. And looks like DJ Dell, I would be surprised if he plays against Ole Miss. It looks like it's a patella injury, according to Saban, because if he doesn't play this coming week, then you can sub him out. And then Alabama has an open week before going against A&M, which is obviously a very crucial game. Justin Ebogbe making his first start, 64.4. Not a lot of good grades on the defensive side of the ball, right? I mean, even Anthony Jennings, 65.0. And I thought he got to the quarterback. I thought he did a good job. Shane Lee, that's probably his lowest grade of the season. Trayvon Diggs, 72.7. Xavier McKinney. So, a lot of grades that you weren't expecting on the defense. Maybe you were. I mean, like we're talking about, we're talking about the defense. The offense seems to be fine. Maybe the defense will find itself along the way, but a lot of new names rotating in on the defensive side of the football. All right, call in line is back open. 205-686-3604 is the number to call in. The schedule for this week is the same schedule. Alabama does the same thing every single week. Monday will be Nick Saban's press conference. At 12 p.m., we'll carry that right here on BamaInsider.com. So be looking for that press conference. It'll be interesting to hear what Saban has to say following the game against Southern Miss after he's had some time to break it all down, and then he will provide his opening comments against Ole Miss. Also going to be hearing from Tua Tagovailoa and Henry Ruggs tomorrow, so those interviews will be right here on BamaInsider.com. We'll have some more recruiting scoop from Andrew Bone, and we'll have a ton more coverage on BamaInsider.com. So that's kind of the schedule that's upcoming. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Hunter from Hartford, Alabama.
Hey, what's up, Hunter? How was your Sunday, buddy?
Good. How was yours?
Oh, good. Thank you very much, man. What's on your mind?
I'm stoked about the Young commitment.
Yeah, big pickup.
I think he's going to be. Yeah, I think he's going to be a star when Tua moves on to the NFL. But I still think that Talia has a chance of making a start for that starting position. What do you think?
Yeah, I certainly think so too. I mean, you look at the quarterbacks still on the roster. I mean, you got Mac Jones. I think a lot of people are starting to I don't know, maybe lose faith in him, it seems like. I mean, I'd be curious to get, comments in the comment box on that. Talia, I think he has the ability to lead this team. I think he's only going to get better. One thing that I do like about Talia is the fact that he really comes with it. He has a lot of energy. He has a lot of pop, a lot of velocity on his football. Still a long way from what his brother is. Then you have Paul Tyson. A lot of people don't talk about Paul Tyson, but the thing about Paul Tyson is he has that prototypical frame that you're looking for from a pro-style quarterback. 6'5", 225 pounds. Probably going to play with a little bit more want just because people aren't talking about him. And then you have Bryce Young. And Bryce Young, I got a chance to see him at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge this summer in Atlanta, Georgia. I really didn't think much about him when I saw him in person. He doesn't look like a big jacked quarterback by any means, and then you get him on the field and he completely balls out. I mean, he's thrown for over 500 yards a couple times this season. Go check out his highlights. I mean, the kid certainly balls out. It's a gigantic pickup for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were, I follow recruiting very heavily. I think for the fans that do cover it, follow it very closely. I was kind of looking for that commitment. I thought it would be later down the line, but kind of like some of the other guys who cover it, thought that it'd be further down the line that he would commit. But I think things are looking shaky at USC, so I think he decided to go ahead and push it to Alabama's way. With Clay Helton there probably getting let go after the season.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm actually looking at the recruiting class right now. I'm going to try to post a picture for it so we can kind of dive into a little bit more for everybody. But I think what it's going to do for this class is hopefully it helps get a big tight end on board because, if you follow recruiting, you got Eric Gilbert out there, and Eric Gilbert is one of the most talented tight ends in all of college football. I think he could be a day one starter. So maybe Eric Gilbert's like, hey, now you guys got your future quarterback. Maybe he starts to think about coming to Alabama.
Well, maybe Bryce Young will start to try to help recruit him as well. We got to have a tight end come in. I mean, Jamal Billingsley, I think people are sleeping on him too, but I think he's still got some development to do. But I think he could be a good tight end for us in the future. And another guy to be, everybody needs Bama fans, if you don't co-recruiting, there's a guy out there named Drew Sanders,
yep.
who's I anticipate to have a big year next year. When he comes in as a freshman, I think he gets the start coming into next year, and so that's another guy I'm highly anticipating to get on the field at Alabama.
Yeah, I think another guy is Jahlil Billingsley. I really like what I see from him. I think he needs to add some more weight. But if we're looking at a guy that can be a playmaker at the tight end position, he could certainly be a guy that could do good things for Alabama in the future. Anything else while you're on the show, buddy?
What do you think about? I'm really starting to really get to like Jordan Battle after seeing him play these last few games. And do you think comes a time in this year where he gets the starting role?
I think so. I mean, it looks like they're really starting to test out if he can really get acclimated, and especially in that dime situation where Alabama has so many defensive backs out in the field. I think he's a guy that they have a lot of confidence in. I wasn't expecting him to play as much as he's playing right now. I think he's doing a great job. I think, they're trying to bring a lot of these freshmen up to speed because the schedule is going to get a lot more difficult. These guys are going to be facing a lot better athletes going forward. But yeah, Jordan Battle could certainly be a guy that's, your big time starter in the secondary as a true freshman. I mean, absolutely. He's certainly balling out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I followed his recruitment while he was, being recruited by Alabama, and he was originally committed to Ohio State, and then when Urban Meyer left, he immediately flipped his commitment to Alabama. So I think those are his top two schools, and I've heard Urban Meyer personally talk about Jordan Battle, and he said this is one of the best kids he's ever seen.
Wow.
In a high school setting. So that says a lot, and so that speaks to why Alabama has so much confidence in him.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I sincerely appreciate it. Obviously, you like the recruiting, so stick around tomorrow because Andrew Bone will have more on what it means from Bryce Young committing to Alabama.
Thank you.
Take it easy, buddy. All right. Yeah, big pickup for Alabama. I mean, when you look at the class, I think that's a big statement landing the quarterback that Alabama desperately wanted. And I think that's a big land for Sarkisian. I think with his West Coast ties, I was able to really play an instrumental role in landing Bryce Young. And by the way, I had a chance, Andrew and I were actually in Atlanta when we talked to Bryce Young. Classy kid. He said that Alabama had been recruiting him, but that Alabama had been very respectful, and they knew he was committed to USC. But I think that it's really crazy. Let's get this call real quick. Hello, you're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from?
What's going on, Kyle? It's Rex from Helena, man. We've been talking here past couple Sundays.
Yeah. Good to hear from you, Rex. How was your Sunday, man?
Oh, hair of the dog, brother. I'm gonna pay for it tomorrow. But no, what's up? What's up with these Joe Burrow? Let's go on. I mean, Alabama roll tide, but Joe Burrow, his numbers, his stats. You're a stat guy. He's killing it. Well, what's up with these high-powered offenses? I mean, this is like everybody's like talking about defenses, but let's get real with these offenses. I mean, what's up? Talk to me. I'm asking. That's a question. Is there a shift in football right now?
There's no more defense, man. I mean, it's all like people keep talking about the defense, and we're talking about the defense tonight. But I mean, do you really even need a defense in the world of college football? Plain example, right? Last night, that wacky game, Pac-12 after dark, when UCLA beats Washington 67-63. I mean, look at the teams that are winning in the NFL. I mean, it's sad to see, but we're almost at a point where there's no defense and where there's no running game. I mean, we have to face the facts that, this high efficient passing game is going to be the downfall of the running game, and it's going to add more points. There's no 14-3 games anymore. There's no 10-7 victories.
Hey, let's be a glass half full kind of folks, and maybe someone can get a defense going that's going to shut that down.
Well,
now, I don't know
who has the best defense in college football. Who has a good defense, honestly?
That's what I'm talking about, the shift in college football. And this year, honestly, you can't say. I mean, as an Alabama fan, this year has been boring as hell, if I can say that. It's been boring.
Yeah, I guess the game last night with Notre Dame and Georgia, that was mildly interesting, right? I mean, it was nice to see, but...
It was, but it was like, okay, am I supposed to think Georgia's great? Or am I supposed to think they're way overrated? I mean, where are you at with that, man, with Georgia game?
That's kind of what I was thinking, too. I thought I gained respect for Notre Dame. I gained more respect for Georgia.
Dame, I'll tell you what, Alabama needs to get all their coaches from Notre Dame. Get them down here. I mean, they do, because Notre Dame, they're what? They're a non-conference, correct? Am I right?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is Notre Dame in a conference, or aren't they their own entity?
No, they're their own entity. So they're just floating out there. That was like their conference championship game last night, so to speak.
Well, I mean, they played it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's like we need those coaches right here in Alabama. We need them. Tuscaloosa, come on, guys. Let's pay them double what they're making up there. Hey, come on.
Well, Alabama tried to get who's one of the coaches from Notre Dame recently. He has ties to Alabama, but I believe he was making more than what they were offering. I mean, being a private school, I mean, we don't know how much Notre Dame is paying their coaches, but you're right. I mean, they certainly have a good coaching staff. I'm surprised that more.
Hey, but year after year, Notre Dame is throwing down with some of the greatest teams in college football. They may not win. They sometimes win. They make it to the playoffs.
Yeah.
What are they doing? What are they doing different? What's in their Kool-Aid? I mean, they're getting it.
Yeah, but I mean, are they really? I mean, do you honestly really take Notre Dame serious? I didn't take them serious when they were playing Clemson last year.
I didn't take them seriously until last night. But then again, should I have not been taking Georgia seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, Georgia's both their offense and defensive line, they're stacked. They're playing awesome football.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an Alabama fan, but it's, those memes, hard pills to swallow. That's the year we're having right now.
Yeah. What about?
But
So you got LSU. They're also a threat.
But dude, they let Vandy hang 38 on them.
Yeah. What was up with that? I mean, that's just. I mean, does that take away what they've done? I mean,
hey, DBU. I feel like our freshmen. I feel like Alabama's freshmen DBs, and don't we start 7 freshmen on defense?
5 on defense. Still, same thing. 5, 7,
Okay.
Same thing. I mean, it's like there's so many guys on defense, and there's no way Vanderbilt would even score 14, 10 on Alabama. No way.
But Joe Burrow, he is. Hey, I hope Joe Burrow takes the Heisman, and you can say I'm not an Alabama fan for saying that, but from the body of work, if you look at the body of work, you can't argue Joe Burrow's top 3. Who's better, Tua, Burrow, and who?
Well, let's look. I'm going to add the stats right now on the website. So we got Joe Burrow. He's thrown 124 passes. He completed 100 of them, 1,500 yards, 17 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I don't know, Tua's right there. I mean, the completion percentage actually goes to Burrow. They both tied for 4 touchdowns. Burrow's thrown 2 interceptions. Tua's thrown 0. I mean, Burrow's certainly balling out. I mean, he's having a big year. I think his marquee game would be to go head-to-head with Tua Tagovailoa, right?
Right, yeah. And then again, and we are so down on defense, and they're down on defense too. I mean, Vandy just proved it.
Yeah.
But we can't be sleeping when we play them.
You can't be sleeping when Alabama plays Texas A&M either. I mean, on the road, College Station.
No, I feel like I've been watching Kellen Mond. I've never been a Kellen Mond fan, but then again, I'm not an Aggie fan. But and it's real easy for a fat, out of shape guy to say, not playing football. Let's get real. We're fans. We're not athletes. But I mean, I just don't think Mond's getting any better. I don't.
Yeah,
people
right.
will hate on it. I don't care. I just don't think he's getting any better, and I don't know what's going on. But Texas A&M looks worse this year than they did last year, and that's true. Because then last year, wasn't that like a struggle game? Devontae Smith finally scored the win.
Well,
at the end,
last year they had that defense. And they actually had the number 1 defense in college football last year, and that's why Alabama went after Brian Baker, who was their defensive line coach, and also brought over running backs coach Charles Kelly to the mix. I'm not Charles Kelly, Charles Huff. I'm sorry about that, but brought over 2 coaches from Mississippi State because that defense last year they were great. I mean, and that was a game.
You just brought up Mississippi State. Yeah, what happened this year? They just fell flat on their face.
Yeah, I don't know. They, well, I think like I was saying, their defense is completely gone. Their coaches, they lost some of those assistant coaches. So I don't know. Who knows?
I think Alabama. I know Nick Saban's getting paid, but all these videos and documentaries and BS outside of actual ball games. It's like, come on, man. Y'all got to quit doing that because that's just – I mean, I get it. It's a recruiting tool to get these kids to come play. What's up with injuries? DJ Dale, is there an update on that?
Patella injury. Looks like he could be out, questionable for this week against Ole Miss. You got Will Reichert, hip flexor, and then you got Terrell Lewis, who has some sort of nagging injury. So all those guys questionable. I mean, the injuries continue to stack up at Alabama. Anything else while you're on the show, buddy?
Oh, yeah, man. The only thing I was going to say was, no matter what happens this year, we out here starting freshmen left and right recruiting again. I think Alabama's rebuilding, and, a lot of people, they hate, man, my Alabama friends, when I tell them Alabama's rebuilding, they hating on it. And they're like, nah, we national championship or bust. I'm like, nah, they rebuilding.
Oh.
True or false?
True, man. Big land from Bryce Young tonight, who's the big 2020 commit. But I appreciate you calling in. Please call again.
All right, man. I'll see you next Sunday, brother.
All right. Take it easy, man. Thanks. All right. Good calling. Rex, one of my new favorites, definitely. Calling line is still open. I'll take a couple more calls. 205-686-3604. Yeah, thank you, 2KJ. That was a hyperextended knee on Terrell Lewis. So I don't know. Hopefully he can come back. Maybe just hold him out to that Texas A&M game, right? I mean, does Alabama really need him against Ole Miss? And then if he doesn't play against Ole Miss, he'd theoretically have 3 weeks to rest because he didn't play against Southern Miss. You could rest him against Ole Miss. He has the bye week to get healthy, and then he can come back against Texas A&M. But really would like to see what Terrell Lewis could do when he's fully healthy. I think we're all kind of waiting for that. Hey, what's going on? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson, who I'm on the line with, and where are you calling from?
Yeah, bro. It's Q from Brooklyn.
Hey, what's up, Q? How you doing tonight, man?
I'm well. Can't complain, brother.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you calling in. I know you tried to call in a couple times. Sorry about that.
Yes,
So,
sir.
what do you? Good. I know you like to break down the defense. So, is Jared Maiden that big of a problem on the defensive side? Is he a vulnerability?
Last week he gave me a bit of a problem for sure last week, but this week I rarely seen him do anything that bugged me as much. But I just feel like we're just basically rebuilding on the defensive end. We lost so many secondary players, so the new batch that we got coming in is just trying to find themselves. We only probably will lose Xavier McKinney probably by the end of the season. We don't know. And Jaden Maiden, he might declare just like Savion Smith, but we shall see. But after next year, we shall see what we're going to do with the offense, because completely our receivers, definitely I don't expect them to stay another year.
Mm-hmm.
Ruggs, Judy, Smith, Tua, Najee. I don't know, Brian Robinson might come back, but Najee, he wants to go. So we're going to have to rebuild. I just was surprised about the Bryce Young pickup.
Yeah,
I thought we had a couple of quarterbacks back there who was going to be expected to step up next season, but I guess he's coming in is going to improve the room, I guess.
Yeah, it's an interesting pickup, and I think it's going to be interesting to see next year what happens in that quarterback room. You got Mac Jones, who Saban has continued to say is ahead of everybody, but then you land a big quarterback commitment, and you have Tua's younger brother also in the room. Then you also have the great grandson of Bear Bryant in the room,
Tyson.
right? Paul Tyson. Nobody talks about Paul Tyson, but I mean, we've seen him at practice. I mean, he looks pretty good. Nobody talks about him.
Yeah.
Then you have Bryce Young, and he might not look like much out of pads, but the dude completely balls out. I'm telling you, after you guys are done watching the show, look up Bryce Young highlights. You guys will be certainly impressed. I mean, the kid can certainly spin it.
True, he can. I watched him film on him. But for the defense as well, what are we gonna do? Them freshmen starting when it gets to Texas A&M, Clemson, we want them badly. So we coming for you, Clemson. I gotta say this every time. I'm coming for Clemson. But what are we gonna do with all these freshmen playing on defensive end now? Do they have that grid? Do they have that toughness to be able to play 4 quarters mentally and physically? Because football is 80% mental and 20% physical.
Mm-hmm.
So how long can they sustain a battle like when we go to LSU, when we play Texas A&M, when we play Auburn, when we get to the playoffs? So it's just right now, I guess Saban, the great Saban, is just trying to make sure he knows who's going to be redshirted and who's not. These early games are a test of who's going to play and who's not, who's going to redshirt and who needs to be implemented into the system.
And Q brought up a good point. So now with the new NCAA rules, just as you're tracking, freshmen can play 4 games before they decide to redshirt the player. So we have all that organized at BamaInsider.com. It's kind of, we go by the numbers. And right now you have, there's a couple guys that have already played 4 games. Evan Neal has started 4 games. Same with DJ Dell, Shane Lee, and Christian Harris and Will Reichert. So those guys obviously aren't going to be redshirting. But a couple of these other guys, they'll get their toe in. They'll play a little bit. But there's 18 total players that have played. But we're, keeping track on those freshmen. So a lot of guys getting reps. The defense, we're talking about the defense. A lot of the calls have been about the vulnerabilities of the defensive side of the football. And I think that's the right area to have the conversation, because in today's college football world, we talked about this earlier. I mean, it's all about stopping the opposing offenses. And when you get into those big time games against teams that can go to a track meet with you, so to speak, like a Oklahoma, like a Clemson. I don't know. I mean, maybe I guess at Georgia, I don't know about their offense, if it's as good as those other offenses, but let's throw them in there. LSU. You have to have the defense that can certainly step up, right, Q? Q. I think we lost Q from Brooklyn. All right. That's too bad. He always that's my favorite ending. But yeah, I mean, it's a world of offense. The vulnerabilities are on the defensive side of the football, and rightfully so. So, it is what it is. And I think Alabama's only going to improve. They'll have one more, I'll call it a warm-up game against Ole Miss. Saban would say that's rat poison, but it is what it is. The Crimson Tide take on Ole Miss this coming Saturday at Bryant-Denny Stadium. 2 p.m. kickoff. I think it might be 2:30, actually. The game is going to be hot. I don't know if you check the temperature in Tuscaloosa, but the temperature continues to climb. It should be like 97 for kickoff time. So, yeah, you're right, Nathan D. Ruggs has been completely balling out. I appreciate everyone watching this evening, giving me some time out of your Sunday. I know Sunday is a time with family. Family is certainly important stuff. So, as I always say, towards the end of the show, be good people out there. And, special thanks to the men and the women who serve this great country in the United States military. We appreciate what you do for us. Be safe out there. And I will catch you guys next Sunday on the Call-In Show. But I'm always around. I'm always posting content right here on thebamainsider.com. Special thanks to all our callers. I appreciate all the feedback and the constructive criticism. We want to provide a good product for you. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Just look up Bama Insider. Would love the opportunity to earn your business at BamaInsider.com. The free 30-day code is simply Roll Tide. That's one word. I'm coming to you from beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your newest commit, Bryce Young. You can read more about him on BamaInsider.com. Andrew Bone will be back. More recruiting. And Nick Saban's press conference dropping tomorrow at 12 p.m. All the coverage at BamaInsider.com. From Tuscaloosa, Alabama, this is Kyle Henderson. Until next time, my friends. Talk soon.